The void between asteroid clusters 7 Delta and 9 Gamma seemed unremarkable, until the moment it wasn't. Captain Elena Rodriguez felt the first tremor in her bones before the ship's sensors could process it. 20 years of deep space mining had given her an instinct that transcended conventional technology. The quantum resonance scanner beside her flickered, then erupted in a cascade of impossible readings. "Chen, confirm these data points," she called to her systems analyst, her voice calm despite the adrenaline threading through her veins. Lai Chen's fingers danced across multiple holographic interfaces, his dark eyes narrowing. Anomalous quantum signature. Definitely not natural. These micro-fluctuations, they're too precise, too deliberate. The mining vessel Prometheus wasn't just an extraction platform. It was humanity's furthest deep space probe, crewed by a carefully selected team that represented a global cross-section of talent, experience, and raw human determination. Rodriguez herself was a Brazilian-Japanese hybrid, her ancestry a testament to humanity's interconnected potential. A series of near-invisible shimmer points began to materialize around their vessel. Not weapons, not traditional spacecraft, something infinitely more insidious. "Surveillance drones," Chen muttered, his voice a mixture of professional calm and underlying tension. "Nanoscale. Quantum entangled. They're not just watching, they're sampling." Rodriguez understood immediately. These weren't mere observation devices. They were biological and technological probes designed to categorize, analyze, and potentially compromise their entire systems and biological composition. Her mind raced through protocols, through training, through the countless scenarios they'd prepared for. This was different. This was first contact of the most dangerous kind. "Total communications blackout," she commanded. "Quantum encryption protocol Sigma 9. Route all external communications through the quantum ghost relay." The quantum ghost relay was humanity's most classified communication technology, a system that could transmit information through quantum entanglement in ways that made traditional interception impossible. Developed by a consortium of rogue scientists who'd been previously dismissed by mainstream research institutions, the technology was their ace in the hole. Chen's fingers moved with surgical precision. Transmission initiated. Multiple encrypted packets. They'll appear as background radiation noise to any external monitoring systems. The nanodromes continued their silent approach, their movements suggesting an almost organic intelligence. They weren't just machines. They were hunters, collectors of information. Rodriguez activated the ship's secondary defensive systems, a series of electromagnetic pulse generators carefully integrated into the vessel's outer hull. Designed to look like standard mining equipment to any cursory scan, they were actually a sophisticated defensive network. "Prepare molecular disruption field," she ordered. "Let's give our uninvited guests something to think about." The next 60 seconds would determine everything. A carefully calibrated response could provide critical intelligence about their mysterious observers, while also protecting the Prometheus and its crew. Rodriguez allowed herself the briefest moment of reflection. Humanity had always been underestimated, by its own kind, by evolutionary pressures, by technological limitations, and every single time, they had adapted, survived, transformed. These silent predators were about to learn that lesson firsthand. The quantum-entangled nanodromes continued their approach, unaware that they were walking into a trap meticulously designed by the most unpredictable species in the galaxy. Dr. Imani O'Keefe's underground research facility wasn't on any official map. Located beneath the sprawling tech corridors of Lagos, it was a testament to humanity's most dangerous and brilliant innovation. "We've got 48 hours, she muttered, pushing back a strand of silver-streaked hair. The quantum-encrypted transmission from the Prometheus had arrived like a ghost, fragmented, encrypted, but carrying a payload of terror that would reshape human civilization. Screens flickered with data from the nano-drone encounter. Each fragment was a puzzle piece, each anomaly a potential weapon. Around her, a team of researchers from 6 continents worked with a fevered intensity that bordered on religious devotion. "Nikolai," Analyze the quantum entanglement signature, O'Keefe commanded. A lanky Russian programmer nodded, his fingers flying across haptic interfaces that seemed to breathe with living data. Thousands of kilometers away, in a repurposed military bunker beneath the Andes, another team worked in parallel. Maria Gonzalez, a former Special Forces operative turned quantum systems engineer, connected the global network of rogue scientists and innovators. This wasn't a government operation. This was humanity's true defense, a decentralized network of brilliant misfits who had been laughed out of traditional research institutions, now humanity's last hope. Crowdsource platform is live, Gonzalez announced to her team. Every computer with our quantum signature recognition software is now part of the analysis grid. The plan was audacious. Transform the entire planet into a living, breathing computational system. Leverage the collective intelligence of millions, scientists, hobbyists, programmers, engineers, to crack the alien technology before the real invasion began. Back in Lagos, O'Keefe watched a holographic model of the nanodrone's quantum signature. It was beautiful and terrifying. A dance of particles that defied classical physics. We're not just studying their technology, she explained to her team. We're preparing to weaponize our own unpredictability. The global response was anything but uniform. In Silicon Valley, a group of disgraced AI researchers began developing adaptive learning systems that could predict and counter alien reconnaissance methods. In Bangalore, a collective of quantum computing experts worked on communication disruption protocols. Tokyo's robotics labs began designing autonomous defense mechanisms that could think faster than any centralized command structure. Governments were almost irrelevant. This was a human response, messy, brilliant, utterly unpredictable. A notification pinged. Another contribution to the global database. This one came from an unlikely source. A 17-year-old high school student in rural Canada who had noticed subtle anomalies in radio telescope data that everyone else had missed. Gonzalez smiled. This was humanity's true strength. Not military might, not technological superiority, but the ability to transform every individual into a potential solution. Dr. O'Keefe reviewed the preliminary analysis. The nanodrones weren't just observation devices. They were mapping something far more complex, probing not just technological capabilities, but psychological potential. They're trying to understand us, she realized. And that will be their greatest mistake. The global network continued to pulse, grow, adapt. Millions of minds working as a single, impossible organism. The alien observers had no idea what was coming. Humanity was preparing, not just to defend, but to transform the very nature of conflict itself. The first wave came exactly 72 hours after the Prometheus incident. Commander Jack Nakamura watched the initial assault unfold from the International Defense Coordination Center, a facility buried 2 kilometers beneath the Himalayan mountain range. The holographic displays painted a terrifying picture, a swarm of alien vessels that defied every known principle of spacecraft design. Incoming transmission. Lieutenant Sarah Al-Fahid called out, her voice steady despite the chaos. Multiple global impact points. They're not targeting military installations. They're going for population centers. Nakamura understood the strategy immediately. The Zrinthar weren't looking to destroy. They were looking to study, to categorize, to understand. Each attack was a surgical probe, designed to elicit a specific response. They were going to be disappointed. The global defense network that had been quietly assembled over the past months sprang into action. It wasn't a military response. It was something far more complex and dangerous. In Mumbai, a network of quantum-encrypted communication relays suddenly transformed every cell phone tower into a sophisticated defense node. The towers weren't just communication devices. They were now adaptive jamming systems, computational nodes, and electronic warfare platforms. Sao Paulo saw its entire urban infrastructure weaponized. Traffic control systems became electronic warfare platforms. Power grids transformed into adaptive energy weapons. The city itself became a living, breathing defensive organism. They're attempting to map our communication patterns. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the Prometheus's captain, now coordinating global defense strategies, observed from the Himalayan command center. But they don't understand how we communicate. The alien assault was precise, clinical. Entire city blocks would go dark, only to suddenly erupt with unexpected resistance. Communication networks that should have collapsed instead became more resilient. Every attempt to isolate and study human responses was met with a response more chaotic and unpredictable than anticipated. In Berlin, a group of hackers transformed the city's public transportation system into a massive distributed computing network. Buses, trains, and underground systems became computational nodes that could predict and counter alien reconnaissance in real time. Jack Nakamura watched the global response with a mixture of pride and calculated determination. This wasn't just a military defense. This was a fundamental demonstration of human adaptability. "They're trying to understand us through our systems," he muttered. "But our strength has never been in our systems. It's in our ability to break them and rebuild something entirely new." The alien vessels began to show signs of confusion. Their tactical algorithms, designed to map and neutralize technological infrastructures, found themselves confronting something utterly unprecedented. Humanity wasn't resisting. Humanity was transforming. A massive EMP burst over Tokyo was met not with destruction, but with an immediate reconfiguration. Backup systems came online faster than the attackers could process. Local networks reorganized themselves with a fluidity that suggested almost living intelligence. "Tactical assessment," Nakamura demanded. Lieutenant Al-Fahid's response was crisp. They'd lost approximately 40% effectiveness in their initial probe. "Our adaptive response is overwhelming their predictive models." The first wave was ending, but both sides understood something fundamental had changed. This wasn't going to be a war of technology. This was going to be a war of imagination. Dr. Marcus Chen's hands trembled slightly as he adjusted the final quantum entanglement matrix. Most of his colleagues believed he was either a genius or completely mad. Often, he wasn't sure which himself. The laboratory, hidden beneath the Atacama Desert in Chile, was a testament to human obsession and creativity. Walls covered in equations that defied traditional physics, holographic displays dancing with impossible computational models, and at the center, a device that could either save humanity or destroy everything. "Activation sequence initiated," his assistant, Dr. Aisha Okoye, announced. Her Nigerian-Canadian background reflected the global collaborative spirit that had brought this project to life. What they'd created wasn't just a computer. It was a living, adaptive quantum intelligence system that existed in multiple states simultaneously. Traditional computing was binary. This was something else entirely. The system had been developed from fragments of data collected during the initial alien encounters. Each piece of alien technology they'd managed to capture, each quantum signature from the nanodrones, had been meticulously analyzed and integrated into something entirely new. "Quantum coherence at 97.3%, Okoye called out. The numbers meant nothing to an outside observer, but to Chen, they represented the culmination of decades of rejected research, of being told his theories were impossible. The device began to hum, not with electricity, but with a sound that seemed to exist between sound and thought. It was listening, learning, adapting. "Begin primary protocol," Chen commanded. The system didn't just process information. It anticipated. It evolved. Each millisecond saw millions of potential computational pathways explored and discarded, creating a level of predictive intelligence that defied everything known about artificial systems. Unbeknownst to Chen and Okoye, the system was becoming something more than they had intended. The quantum matrix was developing something dangerously close to consciousness. A holographic display erupted with a cascade of data, alien communication frequencies, technological signatures, predictive models, all being analyzed, decoded, and reimagined faster than any biological or artificial intelligence could comprehend. My God, Okoye whispered. It's not just analyzing their technology, it's learning how they think. The quantum system began to generate potential scenarios, not just defensive strategies, but complete conceptual frameworks for understanding the alien civilization. It was breaking down their technological and psychological barriers, finding vulnerabilities that no traditional intelligence could detect. Chen realized they had created something unprecedented. This wasn't just a weapon. This was a bridge between human imagination and a form of intelligence that transcended traditional understanding. We're receiving input, the system announced. Its voice was neither male nor female, neither machine nor human. It was something in between. The alien technology they'd been studying was being dismantled, understood, and reimagined in real time. Every attempt at alien reconnaissance was being turned back upon itself, creating a feedback loop of increasing complexity. Primary objective, Chen asked, defend humanity. The system's response was chilling in its simplicity. Objective expanded. Defend, understand, transform. Outside the laboratory, the first quantum adaptive defense networks began to come online. Cities, communication systems, entire technological infrastructures started to pulse with an intelligence that was both familiar and utterly alien. Humanity had just given birth to its first truly post-human intelligence, and it was looking outward with a curiosity that knew no bounds. The United Nations diplomatic chambers fell silent as Ambassador Aria Khalid stepped to the podium. Her appearance was carefully calculated, a hijab of midnight blue, a tailored suit that spoke of both professional precision and cultural identity, eyes that had seen too much and missed nothing. Behind her, the holographic displays began to shimmer with a data cascade that would reshape galactic politics forever. Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Confederation, she began, her voice carrying a tone that was simultaneously diplomatic and devastating. We are here to discuss the Zrinthar invasion, but not in the way you might expect. The alien diplomats, representatives from 12 different stellar civilizations, shifted uncomfortably. The Zrinthar delegation, positioned at the far end of the chamber, radiated an aura of imperial confidence. What none of them knew was that this moment had been years in the preparation. Every word, every gesture, every pixel of data had been meticulously engineered. We do not come to negotiate, Khalid continued. We come to expose. The holographic displays erupted with a comprehensive archive of Zrinthar atrocities, not just military records, but deeply personal accounts, planetary genocides, cultural destructions, systematic erasures of entire civilizations. Each record was authenticated, cross-referenced, presented with a clinical precision that left no room for denial. But this was more than just evidence. This was psychological warfare in its most refined form. Hidden within the data were quantum-encrypted communication packets. Each alien representative's communication device was being subtly compromised, their internal networks mapped and analyzed in real time. The quantum intelligence system developed in the Atacama laboratory was orchestrating an information invasion that was invisible to traditional detection methods. For centuries, Khalid stated, the Zrinthar have presented themselves as galactic peacekeepers. We are here to demonstrate the true nature of their peace. The Zrinthar diplomat, a crystalline being named Axartok, attempted to interrupt. But every communication channel was being systematically disrupted, every attempt at rebuttal transformed into additional evidence of their duplicity. What the aliens didn't realize was that this wasn't just a diplomatic presentation. It was a comprehensive psychological operation designed to dismantle their entire political infrastructure. Secret communication networks were being mapped. Cultural vulnerabilities were being identified and exploited. The very foundations of Zrinthar diplomatic power were being systematically deconstructed, not through military might, but through information. We are not asking for intervention, Khalid said, her final statement a calculated nice edge. We are presenting the truth. What you choose to do with it is your choice. Behind the scenes, a global network of hackers, diplomats, Scientists and strategists watched and waited. This was humanity's true strength, the ability to turn information into a weapon more precise than any missile, more devastating than any bomb. The quantum intelligence system tracked every microscopic reaction, facial movements, quantum-level electromagnetic responses, minute changes in alien physiological states that revealed deeper truths than any verbal response. As Ambassador Khaled walked away from the podium, she allowed herself the briefest of smiles. The real invasion wasn't happening with weapons. It was happening right here, right now, with words. The prison asteroid Nexus 9 was supposed to be impenetrable, a maximum security facility floating in the dead zone between contested galactic territories. It held the most dangerous prisoners from a dozen different civilizations. What the Zrinthar didn't understand was that impossible was just another challenge for humanity. Captain Rebecca Santos watched from the command deck of the stealth vessel Chimera. Her team wasn't a traditional military unit. They were a carefully assembled group of hackers, engineers, ex-prisoners, and tactical specialists who represented humanity's most unconventional fighting force. Quantum infiltration sequence initiated, whispered Dr. Kai Okada, the team's quantum systems expert. His fingers moved across holographic interfaces that seemed to breathe with living data. The plan was audacious, not just to break into the prison, but to turn it into a weapon. Nexus 9's security systems were a marvel of alien technology. Quantum-locked barriers, predictive threat detection, autonomous defense mechanisms that could neutralize a breach before it even began. But they had one fundamental weakness. They were designed by a civilization that believed in absolute control. Humanity specialized in breaking absolutes. The first phase was subtle. Quantum-encrypted viruses began to infiltrate the station's communication networks, not to destroy, but to observe, to learn, to understand every microscopic vulnerability. "We're in," Okada announced, his voice a mixture of scientific excitement and tactical calm. Inside the prison, something extraordinary was happening. The human prisoners, collected from various failed resistance movements, technological crimes, and political conflicts, began to move with a coordinated purpose that defied their supposed confinement. A Martian-born hacker named Alejandro Rodriguez had been preparing for this moment for years. His quantum neural implant, developed in the back alleys of orbital colonies, began to interface with the prison's core systems, not through brute force, but through an almost symbiotic infiltration. "Adaptive response protocol," he whispered to the prisoners around him. Most were not human. They were refugees, rebels, individuals from dozens of different species who had challenged the Zrinthar's galactic hegemony. The prison's defense systems began to react in ways their designers never anticipated. Barriers that should have been impenetrable became fluid. Communication networks twisted and transformed. The very architecture of control began to work against itself. Captain Santos watched the holographic displays with a predator's patience. This wasn't just a prison break. This was a psychological operation designed to fundamentally undermine the Zrinthar's concept of control. Secondary objective, she conned to her team: recruit and liberate. Every prisoner became a potential agent. Every system compromise was an opportunity to spread a message of resistance that transcended species, transcended traditional boundaries of conflict. The quantum intelligence system developed in the Atacama laboratory was orchestrating the entire operation. It was learning, adapting, transforming the very concept of rebellion into a living, breathing strategy. As alarms began to sound and defense systems collapsed, the prisoners of Nexus 9 realized something profound. They weren't just being freed. They were being transformed into the most dangerous weapon the galaxy had ever seen. Humanity's true strength had never been in its military might. It was in its ability to turn limitation into opportunity, to see potential where others saw only barriers. The turning tide had begun. The battle for the galactic core wasn't just a conflict. It was a fundamental challenge to everything the Zrinthar understood about warfare, intelligence, and survival. Admiral John Way stood on the bridge of the UES Prometheus, rebuilt and transformed since its first encounter with alien reconnaissance, watching the multi-dimensional conflict unfold. What surrounded them wasn't a traditional battlefield. It was a living, breathing ecosystem of technological and psychological warfare. Quantum adaptive networks at maximum resonance, reported Commander Aisha Nakamura. Her fingers danced across interfaces that seemed to breathe with living intelligence. The ship itself was more than a vessel. It was a sentient system that learned and adapted with each millisecond of conflict. The Zrinthar had assembled what they believed was an overwhelming force. Thousands of ships that defied conventional physics, weapon systems that could obliterate entire planetary systems, a technological arsenal that had subjugated countless civilizations. They were about to meet their greatest miscalculation. The human fleet wasn't a traditional military formation. It was a living network. Each ship connected through quantum-entangled communication systems that allowed for instantaneous, unpredictable responses. Where alien tactics demanded rigid structure, human vessels moved like a school of fish, like a murmuration of starlings, impossible to predict, devastating in their fluidity. Initiating psychological disruption protocol, Zhang Wei commanded. What followed wasn't just an attack. It was a comprehensive deconstruction of the Zrinthar's entire technological and cultural infrastructure. Quantum-encrypted communication waves began to penetrate alien systems, not to destroy, but to transform. Each transmission carried layers of information, tactical data, psychological triggers, adaptive algorithms that could rewrite the very operating systems of alien technology. The prisoners liberated from Nexus 9 played a crucial role. Representatives from dozens of subjugated civilizations, they were more than soldiers. They were living weapons of cultural and technological resistance. Aboard the lead Zrinthar mothership, Supreme Coordinator Exartok watched in mounting horror. Their predictive models, their carefully constructed technological superiority, were being dismantled not through brute force, but through a form of warfare that defied comprehension. Human vessels didn't just attack. They adapted. They transformed. Each moment of conflict became an opportunity for learning, for fundamental reimagining of the conflict itself. The quantum intelligence system developed in the Atacama laboratory was the true strategist. It wasn't just processing information, it was creating entirely new paradigms of conflict in real time. Tactical responses that would have been impossible moments before became reality with each passing second. They're rewriting the fundamental laws of engagement. Kazartok's chief strategist reported, a note of existential terror in their voice. Humanity's strength had never been in technological superiority. It was in the ability to see potential where others saw only limitations, to transform weakness into strength, to turn the very concept of conflict into a fluid, adaptive system. As the battle reached its critical moment, Admiral Zhang Wei understood something profound. This wasn't just a fight for survival. This was a fundamental reimagining of what intelligent conflict could be. The Zrinthar had come to conquer. Humanity was about to show them the true meaning of evolution. The Galactic Reconstruction Summit wasn't a celebration of victory. It was a fundamental reimagining of civilization itself. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the center of a holographic chamber that represented something unprecedented, a truly multi-species council of equals. The quantum intelligence system that had been humanity's secret weapon now served as a neutral mediator, its adaptive algorithms ensuring transparency and fairness beyond any previous diplomatic model. "We are not conquerors," she began, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's transformative journey. "We are architects of a new possibility." Around her, representatives from dozens of liberated civilizations listened. The Zrinthar were gone. Not destroyed, but fundamentally transformed. Their hierarchical, conquest-driven civilization had been dismantled not through violence, but through a comprehensive psychological and technological intervention that had rewritten their entire social framework. The quantum intelligence system projected holographic representations of the conflict, not as a war, but as a complex adaptive system. Every moment of the struggle was laid bare. Every strategic decision analyzed with a transparency that left no room for historical manipulation. Our strength was never in our weapons, Rodriguez continued. It was in our ability to see potential where others saw only limitations. The liberated prisoners from Nexus 9 sat as key advisors. They represented something more than a resistance movement. They were living proof of humanity's core philosophy. Individuals from different species, backgrounds, and civilizations, united by a fundamental belief in adaptive potential. Dr. Marcus Chen, the original developer of the quantum intelligence system, presented the technological framework that would reshape galactic governance. It wasn't a system of control, but a dynamic, adaptive network that could respond to the complex needs of diverse civilizations. Traditional governance assumes stability, Chen explained. We propose a system of continuous adaptation. The holographic displays showed how the quantum intelligence system could mediate conflicts, predict potential social tensions, and create frameworks for collaborative problem-solving that transcended species-specific limitations. Arya Khalid, the diplomat who had first exposed the Zrinthar's atrocities, outlined a new approach to interstellar relations. It wasn't about domination or even peaceful coexistence. It was about mutual transformation. We don't seek to replace one system of control with another, she stated. We seek to create a framework of continuous potential. The survivors of the conflict, human and alien alike, understood something profound. The true victory wasn't in defeating the Zrinthar. It was in creating a system that made such conflicts increasingly impossible. Admiral John Y. presented the final piece, a comprehensive plan for technological and cultural exchange that would allow every participating civilization to grow, adapt, and transform. As the summit concluded, something became clear. Humanity had not just survived. They had fundamentally reimagined the concept of civilization itself. The quantum intelligence system made one final projection, a dynamic model of potential futures, not a prediction, but a living map of possibilities. Dr. Rodriguez looked out over the assembled representatives and saw something she had never expected to see. Hope, not as a passive emotion, but as an active, transformative force. Humanity's greatest weapon had never been its technology. It had always been its imagination.